Well, it's a mad, 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 mad world. But we have to make the best of it, because it's ours. This is your man.
Ishi Hakase.
And I'm here to bring you the funny and the weird and the strange and unbelievable, the stupid, the refreshing, and maybe something a little provocative. So you know what to do. Just grab your snack and drink and kick back. We'll get to it. So many years ago, I had the opportunity to visit the Forbidden City in Beijing. This is pre-Beijing Olympics China. And the Forbidden City was the political and ritual center of China for over 500 years. And after its completion in 1420, the Forbidden City was home to 24 emperors and their families and their servants during the Ming and Qing dynasties. It had been closed to foreigners, really just about anyone, for more than 500 years. So I was very excited to get a glimpse of this magnificent, mysterious element of Chinese history and culture. As we entered these massive gates, these regal door handles, and we walked down this dark corridor, dark but decorative, I could see a cascade of sunlight. And then I nonchalantly looked to my left, and what did I see? But a Starbucks in the Forbidden City. And I went, how? Like, why? This thing has been closed to Westerners all this time, and the first thing that pops up is a Starbucks. I guess what made it worse was the colleague I was traveling with went, oh, hey man, can you hold my camera? I gotta go and get a latte. So why do we love coffee so much? Just behind water and tea, it's the most consumed beverage in the world. Sorry, Coca-Cola. 400 billion cups of coffee are consumed each year. More than 450 million cups of coffee are consumed in the United States every day. Well, coffee contains caffeine, and that is the stimulant that gives you that lift. Caffeine is the most popular drug in the world, and 90% of people in the United States consume it in some fashion every single day. If you're a coffee lover like your man, you know drinking coffee is a complex and nuanced experience. There's the rich aroma, the comforting warmth, and the loveliness of the ritual of sitting down with a fresh cup. But if you really focus on the actual taste of coffee, the way it tastes on your tongue, there's no getting around the fact that it's rather bitter. And bitterness isn't always the most delectable taste. In fact, many years ago, we evolved to actually avoid bitter. But according to a study from Northwestern University, coffee lovers aren't less sensitive to the bitter taste as you might guess. They're actually more sensitive to it, which points to an interesting psychological phenomenon behind our love of coffee. Unexpectedly, people with sensitivity to the bitterness of caffeine tend to drink more coffee. We have an inborn aversion towards bitterness, which is a defense mechanism that prevents us from ingesting poisonous foods. The Northwestern study suggests a psychological phenomenon that it is possible that coffee consumers acquire a taste for, or at least an ability to detect, caffeine given the learned positive reinforcement elicited by caffeine. In other words, it's classical conditioning. As Pavlov's dogs, we learn to associate between two stimuli, the bitter taste of caffeine and the energy boost we get from it. After a few experiences with the connection, we learned that the bitterness indicates energy, and we want more of that, just like Pavlov's dogs. As they salivated to the sound of a bell, having learned that food would follow, caffeine, after all, was the most popular psychostimulant in the world, so it makes sense that we'd learn that the taste, even though not particularly pleasant, signifies its presence. The bitterness in coffee is also probably overshadowed by, other delectable aspects like the smell, which makes up a large portion of our perception of flavor. In any event, it's an interesting study suggesting that our predilection for coffee might be handed down in the genes. So if you have a predisposition to drink several cups of coffee per day, this is probably not a bad thing. The research in the last several years continues to illustrate that not only is coffee not bad for our health, but it's actually good for it. Now we all know that friend, you know, the one that's got the $8 a day coffee bucks habit. Or we have the "don't talk to me until I've had my coffee" coworker. There's no shortage of crazy when it comes to coffee. You know, I come to you from my favorite place in the world, or at least one of them, the Buena Vista in San Francisco, home to a damn good glass of Irish coffee. And coffee lovers all over the world, they have their favorite blend, and they have their favorite affectionate name. It could be coffee, dirt, mud, ink, oil, sludge, worm dirt, goat juice, jitter juice, brain juice, high octane, wakey juice, morning jolt, liquid energy, caffeine infusion, rocket fuel, cup of leaded if you're drinking caffeinated, cup of unleaded if you're drinking decaf. Why? 40 weight, cup of lightning, morning fix, battery acid, varnish remover, perk, brew, cuppa, bean juice, hot stuff, dirty bean water, cafe noir, morning brew, java mocha, jamocha, a cup of good morning wherever you are from, a cup of joe, and C8H10N402 if you're a chemist or a nerd. The history of coffee is unconfirmed, but some say the origin of coffee consumption dates back to the 9th century, as Ethiopian goat herders discovered that their goats became more energized by coffee, at least according to a legend. The hot drink has become the world's most popular beverage. But have we gone too far with our coffee obsessions? Well, let's begin with a special blend, which is one of the most expensive coffees on the market and can run hundreds of dollars per pound due to its rich taste and complex process. Kopi Luwak is a coffee that consists of partially digested coffee cherries, which have been eaten and defecated by an Asian palm civet. These cherries are fermented, and as they pass through the civet's intestines, and after they've been defecated with other fecal matter, they are collected. Civets are strange, tree-like dwelling, cat-like animals. The digestive juices ferment the berries in a way that creates a smooth-tasting cup of coffee with little bitterness. Well, I look these little guys up, and they look more like monkeys to me. But whatever the case, if you are drinking Kopi Luwak, you're drinking cat shit coffee. Or maybe monkey shit coffee. It's your choice. Another coffee oddity comes from a couple from St. Petersburg, Florida, who are addicted to coffee, but the way they ingest it is a little on the non-conventional side. Mike and Trina, their last names have been withheld, are addicted to coffee enemas. Yes, you heard me. Coffee enemas. This unique duo were profiled on the TLC show My Strange Addiction and claim to have been giving themselves these caffeinated enemas for several years. They say they are averaging a whopping 100 coffee enemas a month. But that's 3 per day. Right, so after having stomach ailments, Trina did a little research and stumbled upon coffee enemas. She gave this allurative treatment a try, felt better for the first time in many years. And after witnessing her results, Mike soon picked up the habit. Coffee enemas can be time-consuming, however. The process of delivering a 32-ounce bucket filled with coffee to the lower intestines via a Vaseline-coated hose can take up to several hours. The couple have become pros at giving themselves the enema. However, I make a quick transition from the floor to the toilet seat, said Mike. It comes out like a flying torrent. While Mike enjoys an espresso grind on the cold side, Trina is more partial to the saturated blend that is a warmer and thicker consistency. As I mentioned to you people in my last stream, don't try this at home. Remember the woman who sued a restaurant chain over spilled coffee? That's why we have all the warning labels on coffee that warns us that it's hot, duh! Well, Stella Liebeck of Albuquerque, New Mexico gained notoriety as she began being the instigator in one of the most frivolous lawsuits in history. She is the woman who sued McDonald's over spilling hot coffee, which she claimed severely burned her. It turns out that the suit wasn't so frivolous after all. Liebeck was a passenger in the seat of her grandson's car when she ordered coffee at McDonald's. After receiving it in a styrofoam cup, the then 79-year-old grandson pulled the car over so she could add cream and sugar to her drink. As Liebeck removed the plastic lid from the cup, hot coffee spilled in her lap. The sweatpants she was wearing absorbed the coffee and gave her third-degree burns on approximately 6% of her body, including her inner thighs, buttocks, and genitals. Liebeck was hospitalized for 6 weeks and underwent numerous skin grafts. It should be noted that McDonald's and other chains serve their coffee at 180 to 190 degrees Fahrenheit. Home brewing machines serve coffee at about 130 to 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Liebeck tried to settle with the fast food giant at $20,000, but they refused to settle, which led to additional lawsuits. During the courtroom drama, it was discovered that more than 700 people made claims against McDonald's over being burned by their coffee. Liebeck was rewarded $200,000 in compensatory damages. This amount was reduced to $160,000 because the jury found her 20% at fault in the spill. Let's go through that again. They found her at 20% at fault in the spill. Not sure how you calculate that, but the jury also awarded the woman $2.7 million in punitive damages. A post-verdict investigation found that the temperature of coffee at the local Albuquerque McDonald's has now been dropped to 158 degrees, and now you know why you can't get a hot cup of coffee at McDonald's. In January 2015, Serena Williams was feeling a little sluggish in her match with opponent Flavia Pennetta in the Hopman Cup opener in Perth, Australia. After losing the first set 6-0, 6-love, she decided that she needed a little pick-me-up. And when you're Serena Williams, you get to have some perks that other people don't. So Williams got a percolating perk by ordering an espresso during the match. After asking the umpire if it was okay, the tennis superstar then had a ball girl deliver her espresso. I just wasn't feeling it, so I just had to get some coffee in me, Williams said. I just asked them to get me a shot of espresso. I asked if it was legal because I had never done it before. I needed to wake up. Well, Williams recovered and went on to beat Flavia Pennetta. And now Williams refers to the coffee, the espresso, as her miracle coffee. In 2012, two men walked into a newsstand in Manchester, England, handed over 4 bags and asked the cashier to fill them up with cigarettes and tobacco. Oh, did I mention that one of the robbers was nonchalantly holding a cup of coffee the whole time? The men also robbed another newsstand in Manchester on New Year's Eve. Perhaps with all of this thieving and New Year's Eve partying, a cup of Joe isn't such a bad idea. Interesting, they didn't ask for money, they just asked for cigarettes and tobacco. And of course we've heard, there's nothing like a good cup of coffee and a smoke. There is the curious origin of the woman who started a coffee empire with her son's book. So before 1908, when you brewed coffee, filters were made of cloth, and sometimes coffee was filtered through socks. Yummy. Never had corn chip flavored coffee before, but after getting fed up with her coffee's bitter taste caused by cloth filters, German homemaker Melita Benz literally took a page from her son's school book and filtered her coffee through it. She quickly patented her contraption and became a coffee filter mogul. The paper filters went on to win awards, and her company still exists to this day. Thank you, Ms. Benz, for bringing the sock brew to extinction. Eric Williamson of Springfield, Virginia, can't even enjoy his home brew in the nude. A few years ago, Williams was arrested after his neighbor, Yvette Dean, was walking in the morning with her child and spotted a man making a cup of coffee au natural. Did I mention that the naked brewer was indeed in his own home? Williamson described himself being oblivious to the outside world and told a reporter the morning that morning was like any other. He made a pot of coffee, went upstairs, filled his cup. He just happened to be nude. The next day, when the next thing he knew it, he was being arrested in his own bedroom. Details later emerged that Williamson had several roommates and was alone for the first time in months. Two other women testified that they saw Williamson nude that morning. The first was a librarian who saw the nude dude and considered it rude. She complained to the police, but they came by and saw nothing. A little while later, Dean called 911 after seeing Williamson in all of his glory. She testified that she made eye contact with him and he gave her the finger. Williamson refuted her version of the story and was later acquitted. Once again, did I mention that the man was in his own home? Can't he just enjoy a cup of coffee the way he wants? And is this a good use for 911? Is this an emergency service that you saw a man naked drinking coffee? Okay, that. There is also the case where a few coffee stands doubled as brothels. Coffee stands with baristas clad in bikinis have become all the rage in the Pacific Northwest. When you're competing in the area where coffee giant Starbucks began, you have to do something extra to make your business stand out. So Carmen Panicho, owner of 5 such coffee stands, did a little more than meets the eye to make her chain successful. It turns out the baristas working for Carmen also engaged in sex shows and prostitution to make extra money at the coffee stands. Panicho later pleaded guilty to prostitution and money laundering charges. The names of our 2 coffee huts were Java Jugs and Twin Peaks. And one of them even included a stripper pole. I'll take my coffee to go, thank you. So, I think what we need to do is thank the baristas out there. They put up with a lot of nonsense to accommodate our coffee obsessions. I mean, I was in the coffee bucks not too long ago and I ordered a Frappuccino and the barista asked me if I wanted coffee in that, and I looked at her like, what? Of course I want coffee in it. Why else would I be here? But that might have been a little off-putting, so I'm going to make sure I go back and apologize to her. Kudos to all of the baristas out there. I don't know how you do what you do. You provide service with a smile in spite of all of the personalities and quirkiness that you have to encounter on a day-to-day basis. You graciously deal with the person who orders their drink but doesn't actually know what they're actually ordering. So please don't order a macchiato without finding out what it is first, especially if you don't like strong coffee. It's just plain stupid, and you're wasting your time. So I provide this to you as a public service, because you know your man,
Ishi Hakase.
I want to take care of you. This graphic has been around for a long time, so take a screenshot of it, pause the video. And it's a wonderful way to understand what all these unique coffee blends are. An espresso, that's just finely ground coffee, pressed densely, and very, very hot water is pressed through it at tremendous pressure. And that's the difference between espresso and just a percolated cup of coffee. And I know that there's some coffee snobs out there that'll say, no, it's more than that, and that's fine. We can do that, but take note so the next time you've got your cheat sheet and you know exactly how to go about ordering your coffee. You know, our baristas, they have to deal with the person that orders a plain coffee and then asks, well, where's my latte? And then you have to fight the urge to say, well, if you ordered a latte, then your latte would be ready by now, sir. But remember, the customer is always right. Remember, begrudgingly. Baristas, you're the ones that have to deal with the person who complains that their coffee drink is cold after they've been literally sitting and gossiping with their friend for 20 minutes. You don't need to be a scientist to understand that your coffee is going to go cold if you leave it for that amount of time. But no, of course, I'd be happy to make you a fresh cup of coffee for free. Don't worry about it. Baristas, you have to deal with the person who clearly knows more about coffee than you do. At least they think they do. So them, can I get an Americano? You, sure. Tall or short? Them, huh? You, 8 ounces or 12? Same shot in each, so the 8 ounce is stronger. Them, yeah, I get it. I understand how it works. I just spent a whole year in Italy, so just disappoint me with whatever you want. Thank you, baristas, for managing the person who orders a triple shot decaf skinny soy macchiato with sugar-free hazelnut syrup. Enough said. And then you have to deal with the person who thinks they're better than you because you work in a coffee shop. The one guy who ordered 2 decaf espressos for himself and his lady, got 1 shot pulled, served it to his lady, and then he patronizingly explains to his lady how to taste the espresso step by step. You know, really the whole thing was, just to show the barista that he knows more than they do. We don't need you to keep track of how someone is actually doing their job. The barista in this particular case went on to politely ask the gentleman, I see you're making a lot of observations and you must know a lot about coffee. And the patron just casually replied, no, I just went to college. Ugh. Then you've got the person who wants their drink to be extra hot. I think that means boiling. It takes all your strength to go against your training in which you learn to heat the milk to optimal temperature so that it doesn't burn. Because someone has asked for their drink to be extra hot, your heart is practically breaking as you watch the milk boil away. That coffee is going to taste like crap, and there's nothing you can do about it. Then the curious case of the person who makes you, barista, raise your eyebrows. Someone reported that a patron came in and ordered an egg sandwich without mayo because they were vegan. I think I need to say that again. An egg sandwich without mayo because they were vegan. And then they went on to order whole milk latte. Like I said before, the customer is always right. And baristas, I don't know how you deal with this lady who came in and ordered a latte in a chilled pint glass. Yes, a hot latte in a chilled pint glass. She replied that it tastes better this way. Oh yeah, the shattered glass tastes good to you too? Because when you add a hot drink to a chilled glass, it is going to be a problem. The customer insisted on pouring her own flavors as well because she said that the baristas never got it right. Well, we know what to do here. Whatever. And I guess this final story kind of epitomizes the patience that baristas have to endure. And so I found this narrative from a barista that I'll read from, and it says, I worked in a coffee shop in a convention center, and a Star Trek convention is going on. Since I'm a fan of the show, I asked my manager, can I have permission to work my shift as a Vulcan? I have plenty of hair. I had the hair, I got the uniform. Most importantly, I got the ears and the whole costume, and I started my day. And I had been serving fans all day, and they're all getting a kick out of my get-up until one guy comes up in a classic Captain Kirk uniform and seems unimpressed. It is important to note here that the barista is Asian. The customer, you trying to be a Vulcan? Yes, sir. It was the logical thing to do today. You can't be a Vulcan. Well, sir, I think I'm pulling it off pretty well. But there ain't no China on Vulcan. We can see what's happening here. Simple, ignorant racism. But the barista, he knows how to deal with it. That's right, sir. There is no China on Vulcan. And there's no Europe either. Ooh! Good comeback. The customer opens his mouth to counter, but then realizes the ridiculousness of arguing over what the default race should be coming from a fictional alien planet. And after stuttering for a moment, the customer said, there ain't no China on Vulcan. He stormed off. And I wish that kind of bigotry would stay in his quarters, because there's no room for it on the bridge. Oh, barista life, it's never dull. I dedicate this stream to you, keeping the world caffeinated one cup at a time. Next time, I'm buying you a cup of coffee. Okay, we're just having fun, but I need to be serious for a moment. You matter. If you are struggling with mental health, whether it be from phobia, depression, anxiety, addiction, paranoia, make sure you talk to somebody. Get help. Don't miss out on all the positives in the world. I mean, you gotta try and catch it coffee on your bucket list. Well, that's my time. I'll check back with you in a couple of days. Make sure you subscribe. If you've got news, send it along. And I hope you enjoyed this news or not news. The world is a very curious and interesting place, so keep your heads up. Spread the word. Stay safe. Much love. I'm out of here.